Oh, hey guys, welcome back to the Hoosier Garage. Hopefully y'all saw the last video we did where we got the van running. We got to get idle out of it. After the video I realized I had to advance the timing a little bit more. Idle's really good now, so it kind of leaves us with just some small time tuning, and we got to worry about being able to stop it and start it and all that stuff, so we're gonna have to worry about brakes. Now I'd love to go to the junkyard, the one we've been visiting, and I think that yellow van has some disc brake spindles on it. Well, it's pretty cold, pretty nasty, a lot of snow. Can't really find anybody to go with me right now, else I'd just assume wait myself, and we'll get that at a later date. I figure in the meantime, to keep ourselves busy, why not come back here, check the wheel cylinders on the back of this thing, go ahead and clean everything up. The rear, we got to do a pinion snout seal on it because it's slinging the oil up all over the floor pan. I saw that from day one, so I knew that was going to need to be replaced. It's like a $15 part, and in a couple of minutes we can have it out, have the new one in. And the differential covers, pretty corroded, a lot of pitting in it, so I just thought, well, let's get a chrome one. I've used those before with no problems. So got one of them on the way, and I've also got some 295, 50, 15-inch Firestone Indy 500 tires on the way. Got a really good deal on those, considering the prices of all the petroleum-based products are really up right now, and probably won't come down for a long time, if you know what I mean. So we're going to deal with some of that. Like I said, get some de-rusting going on these drums. You know, scour them down real good, let them soak in this for a couple days. And then our black paint for the rear axle housing itself. I'll probably paint these like Mopar orange or red, or we'll just see how they come out. And you don't really see them with the stock style wheels that we have through the face, but you might see it from the side. Nice little detail. We'll clean up all this other stuff in here, like the springs, whatever we can get, mainly the housing, and then we'll worry about what our wheel cylinders look like. And might want to just replace them anyways, because they have set as equally as long as the rest of the van. So we'll get into some of that. I'm going to put this thing up on stands though, and you can just join along for the ride. So. We're gonna take a look at how dirty and icky everything is here. You see, we got a nice cakey buildup on the pumpkin there, on some of this, some dust from all the sheet metal restoration, and all that sort of thing. So I think one thing we want to do is soften a lot of this up to where it becomes easy to scrape off, and then we'll have to just work a lot of it down by hand, or with little wire brushes on a grinder, or by hand, whatever. So that's what we got, and that's what we're going to deal with. Soaked everything down from both springs, all the axle up on the top of the back where the yoke is and all that stuff. Hit it real good with some super clean. We're gonna close up for the night, just kind of prepping ourselves to hopefully make some of this work easier come tomorrow or Saturday. This is Thursday night. Okay, Saturday morning. Actually, it's not Saturday morning, it's Saturday afternoon. I've had to watch my son all morning, and these came up today here in the carport. 295, 50, 15-inch Firestone Firehawk Indy 500. Wow. Wow. And these are pretty cool. On the black side, I got the Indianapolis Motor Speedway logo. And I figure, since we're the Hoosier Garage,
And we found a really good deal on these on PriorityTire.com. They was $139 each, which is the cheapest I found. Plus I looked up a code, I think it was on Retail Me Not, for like $5 off, so it ended up being, you know, a very good deal for both tires, and I think they have one left as of today. So we're gonna get these around there. These will be for the back, and then we'll get some slightly narrower ones for the front. I also got some, what you call it, weather strip. We'll get in here and we'll get started on our rear end project.
All right, we're taking a little break from all this. I've got about half this pumpkin cleaned up. You did see me, I took the brake tee loose here. The lines are frozen on both ends where they connect. I plugged the holes in the meantime, keep all the dust out. We might end up replacing the wheel cylinders as is, so maybe not a big deal. Right here, you see a lot of this stuff came off in chunks. That worked out really good. I think the Super Clean absorbed a lot of it, and it allowed it to just kind of come off in the shell-like pieces. You could tell it was really saturated. So that was a very good thing. A lot of the residue here we could take off with a wire brush, be it on a drill or by hand. I just picked up another one of these, and then we got one of these little toothbrush style ones too. I got to clean up the top and a little bit of the bottom here, and then I'll go to the other side and do the same thing over there. And if you look, a lot of this derived from the leaky pinion seal over here, okay? And where you can really tell that that's why it's doing it is all this up here. See that? The day I bought it, we noticed that and thought, well, that's gonna need to be changed. So it slung it all the way up there and even over here on the shock absorbers. All right, so I got most of the chunky chocolate chip crap off the rear axle here. So we're going to go into grinder mode, take off this flappy wheel, and use this one. And I even got a cup style I might have to get into. I'd like to just stick to that one if I can. I've got a couple of these we can use. And eyewear, face protection so you don't breathe anything in, because it'll get real dusty when you hit all that dirt and all that stuff, and just the rust. So I'm going to work on that. Hopefully make quick work of it and we can move forward. It's been taking a little bit just trying to get this stuff broke loose. I've been using a little bit of propane torch. You can kind of concentrate it on a little area. It'll get kind of dark, and sometimes you'll see it lift, and when it does that, you can stick a screwdriver or a putty knife under it and pop it right off. But you'll have all that residue. Some of it's harder than others, more gummy, and so you want to get all that off, and that's where I think that'll help us out. Quite a bit of buzz going on here. So let's go in there and take a look at what we got, and we'll probably have to move that light around a little bit. You know, it helps to be a thin-framed person, because otherwise a lot of this wouldn't take place, at least on the floor like this. It'd be nice if I had a lift. So I'm kind of poking my head up between the gas tank, frame member, or cross member, and then the axle. So, yeah, this is must-see TV, I'm sure. I hook this on the brake hose here. Right there. Let's see what we can do with that. Now if I get my arm. I've gotten a lot of this off the floor too. Heat it up with a torch. And then, yeah. So we can do this way. The light up here. I need to work on getting a lot of this cleaned up. And most of this side over here is good, and about 95% of the bottom of it. I need to kind of go over this side here. I don't know if you can see that. Right here. Yeah, so right here. And the light over here. You can actually see. Right here, I need to work on this side with the wire wheel. Under here, it's okay. It's got a little bit more. And I'll just finish out the tubes. And I'll try to get into the backing plates. I don't know about those. That's a lot of detail. I need to probably get another bit to put on a drill that can, like a spiral bit, wire wheel type deal. I can't remember the right name of it, but it basically just looks like a little fire shape, and you can get down in them real tight little spots. Put it on a drill, and you can go to town with it that way. Get all this cleaned up, and we're in pretty good shape. So I'm gonna get back to work on this, do all my climbing around under here. I'll be sore tomorrow, I'm sure, but that's part of the game. But you can see all the crap that's all over the floor. See all that? It's just, I'll get it up in a big pile. There's a big pile on the opposite side over there of the light, and we'll see how much we actually have. It's pretty thick in spots, so most of it's off though. Alright, so I had to go ahead and pop out the shocks. And here's the mounts for them right here. That way I can get down in here and clean all this up. Got some garbage going on in there, so I'm going to be able to get that out. I went ahead and saw what kind of shock action we got here. We have no action in our shocks. These looks like some old Monroes. You can tell what's left of the sticker here. They are pretty much compress them, and there ain't nothing coming back. So those are out of the question there. And had a little trouble getting them out. Had these bolts right here, and the shoulder here, the shank, was pretty tight, and I left the nut on there and bopped them out with this little sledge. And then when I got them flush with the surface, I had to take a punch and drive the rest of them out. So I have to clean them up, get us some new shocks. But it gives me an opportunity to go ahead and get the rest of this area around here cleaned up. At least the shock's not in the way here. I can get my arms in there on this side and clean some things up. So that's the advantage of having things apart. Like ideally you want to remove all this, but I don't really want to fool with putting new bolts in and all that stuff right now. It doesn't really need it. It just needs a good cleanup and detail. But you go with a little bit more work to get there. And so we'll go on this, the last stage of this cleanup on at least the axle. Some of this here needs just a little bit of detail, and I can get in here now with it with the shock being out. And then we'll try to get the back of these backing plates maybe tomorrow. So just trying to get as far as I can. So I'm going to get to it. Okay, so I've got the backing plates and kind of the ends of the axle tubes and some of this other stuff just soaking in some super clean foam, and hopefully it'll help soften some of that up for tomorrow. I figured I got a few more minutes out here in the shop I'll manage to deal with. Let's go ahead and drop this drive shaft so I can be able to pull this yoke off, and then at some point we can put the new seal in. That's caused all this angry grease havoc back here. So we've got a 3/8 wrench, and there's usually not a lot of pressure on these things. See, these two on this strap here have already loosened up for us, and then we'll take these off on the other side. So I'll get those off. Go ahead and loosen these. Alright, so the bolts are off. Looks like it hasn't been off in a very, very, very long time. Let's see if we can pop it loose. Yep. So just a little prying behind it. Yeah, it looks like that cap's gonna want to come off. What do we do? What's on there? I don't know. I'll lay it down. And so it could be shot. We might be able to save them. I don't know though. I'll have to get a new one of that too. So we'll have to get this nut off of here, and then we will pull this yoke off, and the seal will be right behind it. And that's what's causing all of this massive ugliness in here. So I'm gonna let this soak and see if we can pop that nut off. We might have to fix the hubs here so they don't move, so we can put some force on it, crack it loose. Okay, so we got the impact. And we've got a couple redneck situations here to keep the axles from turning, you know, both sides actually, you can see over there. And seeing as we have to surprise this nut off if we can, hopefully we got enough bust them up power here to get that done. Let's see what we got. Righty tighty, loosey goosey. Hey! So that worked out pretty well. Boy, you get tired of you just want to go in and take a nice hot shower. Hear the rain. Oh, it's like 35 degrees out. So, we're gonna call it a night. We're gonna address all that other stuff in the morning, or not in the morning, right? Probably tomorrow afternoon. And extract that yoke off of that rear nose, that axle, and then finish up the cleanup on it, and hopefully we get it all done tomorrow. I kind of think we won't, but you know how I am, like to pick over stuff. We still got to run some new pieces of line on the brakes, so it might go past that. So that's the way she goes. Okay, so it's the next day, and we've not gotten off to the right foot, primarily because you just saw us take the nut off that pinion, right? So my plan, first thing to do today, was to pull the yoke off. Well, I've used the steering wheel puller, you know, the balancer puller. It's kind of a Y shape, almost like a peace sign without the circle. I've used that, and I always keep it in this tray. Now you can see I've got an old broken tie rod puller, but all the bolts thing are in here, and it's not in here, and I can't find it anywhere. So that's it's not a good thing. Might have to go buy another one. I looked all around the shop. I can't find it. I don't know if I loaned it out, but I figured it would have taken all the bolts though. I may have just laid it down somewhere. The last time I used it was on the balancer when we pulled that off for the timing chain, all that stuff, and put it back on. So we'll delay that. One thing I did think about doing, and I was pondering on it last night, was since we're putting a new yoke seal on, you know, when we can get the yoke off, that you know, this thing obviously has been setting for years, and you got the axle end seals, and they're fine right now. But what if you start, you know, using it again, and they're dried up and they start expanding or something, and they crack? So I figure, and here's a couple reasons. I figure I'll go ahead and pull the axles out, and we'll get a couple new seals for the tubes, and then that'll give us an opportunity to really clean up these backing plates for the brakes really well, because you know, you're digging in behind there and all that stuff anyways. Probably gonna go ahead and get some new wheel cylinders. So you always put a little bit more into it than you initially think. You think, oh genius, I'm gonna do this, and be done. But when it starts weighing on you, you figure, okay, if it's been setting for so long, it's probably gonna have trouble once it starts warming up and becoming used again, and then it starts letting go. It's holding now because it's set. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out, and it'll give us a chance to detail things a little bit better. The cover's got to come off anyways for the new seal and the chrome cover, so we could pull the C-clips, pull these axles out, and just do a full kind of overhaul of everything there. So all right, so I'm gonna pop this thing off. Some things to look at here. We got our little hook for our brake line, so that one's almost always on the top center. And we've got our tag over here. The tag usually tells us what the ratio is. It's really hard to tell. I'm going to say it's a 355. That's what it looks like it has said. It's so corroded though. Might be able to actually tell when you get it off and look at the back side of it, the stamping on it. But this is basically one of the early 8 1/4. I think they called it an 8 3/8 early on, but it's technically the same. And I've never seen one that tight. There we go. And these things, they get a lot of hate, maybe some of it deservedly, but I guess it's because they have like a 27 or 28 spline axle. They don't like slicks. Now, on a van, I don't think it matters unless you're doing a bunch of smoky burnouts, but people usually on cars always want to ditch them for an 8 3/4, when I've always, if anything, put them in when I had a 7 1/4, which is just a toothpick of a rear end. If you're a guy that doesn't have a lot of horsepower, or you're not putting the horsepower to the wheels like in burnouts and stuff, then this rear is more than capable of doing what you need. But you know, a lot of you guys want to get into Ford rear ends, and, like 8.8s out of Explorers and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, if that's what you want to do, more power to you, but I don't know why you're not just starting out with a Ford body to begin with, you know? The thing about these, I believe they still make them. At least they have in the past 15 years. In the 73 Duster I had a 245 carrier. It was actually a Sure Grip unit, but it was so tall of a gear that the unit was not interchangeable with gears, so you couldn't put a 355 on that one because of the depth on it was so offset. So you had to get a different unit. But there's an easy fix for that if you find like a Dakota, a Jeep Grand Cherokee, or in my case I found a
a guy that had an 07 Dodge Nitro, and it had an 8 1/4, and it had a 355 limited slip carrier in it, which basically makes it a sure grip. They will fit in these old rears. Couple things that from what I remember that you have to do is the carrier bearings that go on each side of this. I believe they got bigger after 1976, so that would apply to that one. And so if you wanted to put the newer style one in one of these old ones, just get the new or the old style bearings pressed onto the carrier, and then the races that go with it. From what I remember, and it's been about 10 years, that's really all you needed to do. And then I paid $50 for it. You had some nice factory 355 gears that didn't chatter or make any noise once you got them set up, and you had a pretty fresh unit in there. And I had it behind a 340, and no, I didn't go burn the tires off of it. I didn't have slicks or anything. But if you're just wanting a good car to run around in, then this rear is more than enough. Do you understand what I'm talking about? And I know the guys are like, oh, all you need to put a 4 9/8, or you need to put an 8 3/4. Well, if you got one, but I don't want to spend $900 for a worn out rear end, then have to rebuild it. You know, and I don't really want to put Ford parts all in this thing. But that's you. If you want to do that, then you do that. I will not judge you for it. And I know some people want to clap back at you about that, but I mean, if I'm going to go to the hilt, and don't doubt me if I do it, and put a big rear end on something that's over rear-ended, would be put a Dana axle in there. And that's because my dad worked at Dana for 30-some years, and it'd just be kind of cool to have the Big Daddy Dana axle in there and get one cut down. See, if you're going to go. Do the whole thing, do it. Do it right. But hey, that's just me. Usually get a couple of these bolts out, this thing starts pouring out. But we might have a pretty good seal, or it might be empty. We'll see. I had enough of a leak throwing stuff up on here that I don't have anything else in it. Probably have to pry it off. And get the lovely smell of old gear oil all over the shop. Ooh, juicy. Now our tag here, if I don't drop it off in the oil. Let's let this drain. We'll go clean this up, see if we can confirm that's what it was. It was a 355. 355. Sand the back side of it off. I mean, I don't know. That seems like an awful short gear for an old cargo van. And yeah, that's what it is. If you look at it, this is backwards, 355. Come on down. Okay, so here's the inside of this thing while it's continuing to ooze out oil. It's an open rear, so there's no sure grip. We already knew that. I can see a stamping on the ring gear. Sometimes they are not on here, but usually they are. I'm starting to see something here. Yeah, it's a little faint on this one, but right here it says 355. So that is confirmed, and it looks like a 355. We look pretty good in there. Your C-clips, if you're not familiar with these Salisbury style axles. Salisbury's are these ones where the cover bolts on, and then the rest of it is integrated into the housing. The 8 3/4, where the chunk, as they call it, can unbolt off of the tubes. That is a what they call a banjo style.
What's the proper name for that? It just escaped me. But this is Salisbury style, but the other one's banjo style, technically. So C-clips are right on the inside of this gear right here. It's a little spider gear. You got one there, you got one on that side. And the way you take all that out is that you have to turn this. There's your edge of your pin right there. See that? Keep that in mind. That's the pin you see that goes all the way through it right there. Well, you turn this booger around. Turn it around. There we go. You take this bolt out. That bolt is what pins the pin into the carrier. You take that out and then you carefully drive this out a little bit, and then you turn the gear set to where you can come around here and try to pull it out. That'll allow the axles to pop in enough where you can drop the C-clips, and it's basically installation is just reversal of that process. You put the C-clips in, pull them all the way out, install the pin, and put the screw back on. So we're gonna let this drain out for a bit, then probably clean it out some. We'll have to go get some more oil later on. Clean all this off, make sure we don't leave none of it in there, and then we'll pull the axles on it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can extract the pin. At least it popped loose. Now, on this, here's our trusty 318 small block Chrysler push rod that we can use to push out the roll pin and a steering couple fitting. And I don't have any blunt nosed punches, so you can use this. And that moved really good. Some of them, they will fight you, but don't push it all the way through because you'll have to turn it in order to pull it through. It'll catch into the casing here. So we'll spin it around, and it's loose enough, so actually I could probably turn it this way. I might. There we go. That's a loosey-goosey one there. There's oil off my finger. Bring it through. And it only goes in one way, so don't worry about it being a certain way over another. And you can see where your axle rubs against it on both sides. And these flat spots here. And then the hole is where your bolt here slips through, and then it screws into the actual carrier unit. So I'll lay that in a safekeeping. And now what that should create is the opportunity to pull the axles now. Let's position it about there. Now here's your axle ends right here. There's one here and then another one right there. Just keep an eye on this one on the right side. Okay, so that one poked in. There's our C-clip. We grab a magnet, and it is literally just that, a C-clip. We'll do the same thing on this left side. Push it in, it goes in about 1/4 of an inch. And there's our other C-clip. One other reason some people don't like these axles, if you have a good pin and you don't have a lot of that side movement, they shouldn't come out. You can see the groove, and you can see the edge of the splines here. So we'll go ahead and pull the right side axle out, and you can see that. Good to have you a rag or paper towel, especially if you got some gloves you like to keep using. Take it out nice and easy, almost like a camshaft. If you're familiar with putting camshafts in motors, you want to go in real nice so you don't chip up anything. Well, you don't want to go rubbing around our bearings, or if we have a new seal in there, like we will put, we don't want to, you know, maul that one up or anything. So just pull it out nice and easy. Not to gall it or anything. Here, that's where it drops out of the carrier right there. Sometimes I make a tool you can screw in the end here. That's with the hole here, and you can hold it and pull it all the way out that way. Sometimes I'll just apply pressure with my thumbs, pull it like that. Just try to be easy with it. Here we go. So it is a tapered axle. It's pretty big down here in the end, and it kind of narrows down to this 27 or 28 spline. I can't remember exactly. So we will set that right here. Okay. And I normally like to put the axles back on the side they came on, just in case. May not really matter, but I just think it's a good practice. Some goo grease on it. There's probably a little bit of a lean. That's why it's coming down this tube. Because whatever's in that pumpkin will slide down the tubes. That's what keeps everything in the bearings lubed up. So get that cleaned up. We'll move forward. And we could use some of our super clean product again that they was nice enough to send us, so we can show you all. And you get the floor absorbent, kind of the sawdust style. So that should handle that. Just scoop it up later. Now we've jumped back around to the passenger side again. We just got more room over here. So there are 4 bolts to hold these brakes on. Now our emergency brake cable is tied into the bottom here. Those are a little tricky to get loose, but our wheel cylinders have been disconnected, so we don't have to worry about that now. It's just a matter of unbolting it, getting the e-brake system loose on each side, and this whole thing will just come off the axle. You'll have one seal behind there, just a little like a foam seal. We can make new ones of those. And that'll give us the opportunity to clean all this up really good. The brake shoes themselves look really good. There's not a bunch of cracks in them or anything like that. They're still plenty thick, so they might not be that used. But we can paint them up. A lot easier to work on than trying to get behind there with everything. And then that way we can also paint the rear and get the cover on all this stuff. So just business as usual. Okay, now sometimes you have trouble with these retainers that hold the brake cable into position, especially if they have the little fingers that keep it from going through the hole. So you want to be able to depress them all the way around. And it's hard to do if you're trying to use a couple screwdrivers and you're still missing one of them. So sometimes you can take a hose clamp, and probably one better than the one I got here. This one's not the greatest condition, but it's just an old one I had laying around. And try to get it all the way on there if you can. Loosen it up some. There we go. Here it is. Whew. Always a pain. Never easy on those, unless you're lucky. Okay, we're going to generate a little bit of dust taking this off. I'll use this on the other side. It's just one of these power steering caps that they put on when you buy a new one. Just a little plastic plug. Last episode we talked about keeping all those little caps and stuff that come with your new parts, and this one was a little small to fit in this hole, so I wrapped it in a shop rag, and it helps us that way. All right, keep from all this sooty dust from getting down in there. Then we can loosen and remove these 5, actually 4 in this case, nuts on here that hold it to the axle. Okay, so you can see a little bit of what I've been doing here, just cleaning up under these cups and using one of these style. I think I said in the other portion earlier, that's like a fire shape. That doesn't make any sense, I know, but it's kind of a bush shape, and you can get up in all these little areas like that, get all that loose stuff out, up in these little corners, both sides. And I got a little bit of it on the pumpkin, and there's little tight spots there, like next to that fill cap area and things like that. Of course, I plugged both ends of this to keep the dust out. I stuck the cover back on with 3 bolts snugly to keep the dust out of that we're stirring up. And I pretty much cleaned up both sides. I'm gonna do the undersides of the perches here like I did over there, and get up in here if I can. You can actually see right through there, and just try to get that out. And then I'll clean up the rest of the springs as much as you can see. That way we can kind of detail it with some paint. And I might even use some Eastwood on the axle itself and on the plates.
Indiana's original.